I feel like over the course of the last 2 years, or ever since I started to make videos on Bleach, the public perception of the series has actually changed drastically. And this is in comparison to how people had perceived the series towards the latter half of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. So back in 2015 and 2016. Back then the series had just concluded and the ending of the Thousand Year Blood War arc was very controversial, with the series ending with a lot of loose ends. We didn't know the fates of several characters, there were plot points that were building up that Kubo just didn't expand upon. There were several characters that honestly in the end felt like had a lot of wasted potential, and there was this feeling like there should have been more. As selfish and as entitled as that sentiment is, considering that Kubo has given 15 years of his life for producing weekly manga chapters for us, it just felt like there was more of a story left to be told. And it's for this reason that the public perception or opinion of Bleach was really muddied by the time that the series had concluded, with fans obviously dropping off after the ending of the anime, and then with the manga starting off really strong with the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and then with the story arc not really concluding the way that we had expected it to. There were so many mixed opinions about the series. I remember when the Fall of Bleach had dropped back in 2016, and I had watched that video and I genuinely was relating to some of the feelings that I had about the series at the time, with Super Eye Patch Wolf's really poorly researched video, to be honest. I think all of this is a result of just having so much fatigue with the series, with Kubo's health declining and the series not ending well, and with there being no signs of the anime returning. It genuinely did feel like Bleach was in the mud and it was dead and it was never going to come back. And a lot of people had seen fit to actually capitalize upon this opinion, and this is why there were so many similar videos to the Fall of Bleach releasing at that time, and why the general opinion of Bleach was so low within the wider anime community. Now obviously there are still some people who don't really think too fondly of the series, but in general there's been a huge shift in the perception of Bleach over the last couple of years. I know that I really started to gain an audience onto YouTube when I had countered Super Eye Patch Wolf's opinion by releasing my Ruined Reputation video. At the time there was nobody really talking positively about Bleach. I mean, James Hansen was keeping us up to date about any developments or news regarding a upcoming Bleach anime, but at the time back in 2019 there were no signs that the series was ever going to come back. I mean, I remember the dark ages for the series back in 2017 and 2018. It was literally just looking forward to uploads from Clyde, James Hansen or Soul Madness, and hoping that there was going to be some news for Bleach during the Jump Festa, and seeing how Ichigo's face was no longer on the actual billboards for Jump Festa, and how his face went from being pushed all the way back to not even being on the actual billboard for the event. So now it's surreal when I look at my anime list and I see that the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War arc is the #1 ranking top anime series. I know that some of this is due to recency bias, because a lot of the new series that come out are really widely hyped and end up being voted really high up this list, but this is just absolutely insane. How people have really changed their opinions on the series and how much the Thousand Year Blood War arc is being received well by the general public. Before the actual release of the anime, people were having issue with Bleach being dropped from Crunchyroll and it being acquired by Disney Plus, and there were a lot of posts or sentiments like this where people have felt that Bleach would pass over potential viewers because it was not going to be on Crunchyroll, because most people who watch anime are not going to be getting a Disney Plus subscription. They're just going to watch the series on Crunchyroll, where all of the popular anime from the fall season are going to be on, including Chainsaw Man, the 3rd season of Mob Psycho, as well as My Hero Academia and Spy Family Core 2. But these opinions could not be further from the truth, because on every Monday Bleach is typically the #1 series being streamed on Hulu, and this is insane. It's competing with all sorts of other mainstream titles, and seeing an anime series that you grew up with being #1 on a huge platform like Hulu is just surreal, especially after all of those years where people had thought that the series was dead and that it was never going to come back. In general, Bleach is outranking other series like My Hero Academia, while Bleach is typically the #1 series on the day that a new episode premieres on Hulu, with it dropping down a couple of rankings, but typically the series is doing really well to be within the top 10 on such a large platform like Hulu that has so many shows on it. It's not just me that has noticed the shift in the perception of Bleach over time. In March of 2020, the new anime was announced, and I know that a lot of content creators, including myself, were keeping the discussion about Bleach alive, and were building upon the hype until the anime would return by releasing different character analysis videos and explaining various different topics within the series that were highly requested by all of you. I remember when I started to do my character analysis videos, and there was just so much demand for deep dive analysis analytical content based upon Bleach. And it's the perfect series to make analytical content on, because there's so much depth to the series, and a lot of people who criticize the series only look at it on a surface level. Bleach is a story that doesn't spoon feed you in general. So I found great success in actually breaking down and talking about the various different story elements that Kubo incorporates into the manga, as well as trying to convince people to actually check the manga out, because I believe that it's far more superior than the original 2004 anime. So in general, the perception of Bleach had gradually shifted, with there being way more positive takes on the series now on YouTube. Before, when you used to search Bleach onto YouTube, you'd have several different videos talking about the fall of Bleach, how Bleach lost its theme, or why Bleach is just not a good series. Even reading through a lot of these Twitter comments on this post, people are talking about how the final arc of Bleach is really bad, but it's still exciting that the anime is going to come back. And I think that Kubo knows that he didn't get to tell all of the story within the manga, and that's why he's so heavily involved with the anime production. With 7 episodes having released thus far, you can tell that he's made a lot of changes, with a lot of comedic elements being cut from the story, with the anime maintaining the serious tone, while selectively removing content but then purposefully adding in additional material. The notable additions within the anime for me have been all of the scenes involving Uryu and Ryuken, the flashback where we got to see Chojuro use his Bankai, of course the incredible original Gote 13 flashback that we had in the most recent episode, as well as all of the content that is building upon and expanding on the fights that we didn't get to see within the manga, as we learned that Meninas was actually facing off against Rukia, and additionally Ichigo's encounter with Yhwach was expanded upon. I'm just really excited to see what they do with the story during Core 2 and Core 3, and in particular Core 4. If they've expanded upon Ichigo's first encounter with Yhwach, just imagine how much more they're going to add to the final battle during the 1000 Year Blood War arc. A fight that a lot of people had felt was really anticlimactic and had ended way before its time. There's a Twitter comment here that confirms exactly what I was talking about, as they say that their perception of the first invasion of the Quincy has really changed. As within the manga you kind of felt sorry for the Shinigami, but after seeing this original Gote 13 flashback, it kind of feels like they deserved what the Quincy had done to them, especially considering how brutally the Quincy were defeated 1,000 years ago. So this added material really helps to flesh out and change people's opinion upon the story. And in general, it just builds upon the positivity surrounding the series at this time. And it's all just such a contrast against all of the negativity that was being perpetuated during the time when the manga had just concluded. I mean, nearly all of the episode reactions that I've seen from people like Mr. Tomo, James Hansen have all been really positive. I know that channels like Simo Urahara were really upset about all of the cut content within the anime, but I see that he's really loving all of the new additions that they are making. So there will be some sacrifices that need to be made, but it's also that some unnecessary scenes can be removed so that some major new additions can be made, like this Gote 13 flashback. In general, there's a lot of recency bias within the YouTube community. A lot of the opinions about Bleach have changed, whether if it's because a lot of people are just excited and they're checking the series out, and YouTubers are just capitalizing on the views, and they're only being positive just because Bleach is the new hot thing right now. Because a lot of big YouTubers have shifted their opinions conveniently for views, like Giguk, but what matters the most is the opinion of Japanese fans. It would be really interesting to see how the ratings from the new anime are doing, because I know that it's airing at a different time slot than usual. It's airing at 12 AM, whereas the original 2004 Bleach anime used to air in prime time 7 PM in Japan. It would also be interesting to know if the Bleach manga sales have increased ever since the release of the anime, whether if people are going back and buying old volumes again, similar to the hype surrounding season 1 of Demon Slayer, where people just bought so many back issues and skyrocketed the manga sales. One thing is for certain, the fact that Bleach is number 1 on my anime list at least shows that the public perception about the series has completely changed. I am well aware that it's only going to be number 1 for a short period of time, and the success of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime is really going to rely upon the anime staff and Kubo making some drastic changes to the manga during the later portion of the 1000 Year Blood War arc, because if they straight one-to-one adapt a lot of the stuff that's in the manga, then a lot of people will be annoyed again. Because even as a die-hard Bleach fan, I know that some changes need to be made to the ending of this story arc. The number 1 review on my anime list speaks about how Bleach has made its return to the mainstream, as well as discussing how people had thought that this was impossible since Bleach was apparently dead. But now that October 2022 has rolled around, suddenly Bleach has become the most popular anime release of this year. The material that's currently being adapted into anime form was released 10 years ago, so it's been a really long time since all of us have been waiting for an anime release of this material. It feels incredible and really vindicating to know that Bleach has returned, and it's back in a huge way. We know that during the release of the first few episodes, a lot of other production companies were actually complaining that Bleach has stolen all of the voice cast because it has such huge names attached to the series. Voice actors who were up and coming during the mid-2000s, who had voiced iconic characters within Bleach, are now huge voice actors. actors who are highly sought after and attached to other anime titles, and because of all of the voice actors attached to the series, it had caused delays in the production of other anime series. With Bleach being owned by Studio Pierrot, there was some concern as well about the quality of the series, but with big names like Tomohisa Taguchi attached to the anime, and in all honesty it was an excellent choice by Pierrot to not have Noriyuki Abe, the old series director, return. Taguchi has a very refreshing new outlook on the series, and you could tell that he's a fan and he's giving it his all. Some of the episodes that we've had are absolutely mind-blowing, but I was not expecting how incredible episode 7 was going to be. It makes me look forward to the remaining 6 episodes of this first core, and in general I'm just really glad that there's so much positivity surrounding the series, and it's a great time to be a Bleach fan, because back in 2017 and 2018, I know from discussions with a lot of other fans, people were ashamed to admit that they were a fan of the series, and this was just because of all of the negativity surrounding it at the time. Opinions about Bleach have been formed from people who have never even seen a single episode or read a single chapter of the manga because of how widespread the negativity was on YouTube and other platforms. But now, week on week, Bleach is the top anime of the fall season, with the 1000 Year Blood War arc remaining on the top spot for the 6th straight week, with it having over 20% of the total votes, outnumbering other major fall anime releases like Blue Lock and Chainsaw Man. During the time leading up to the release of the Bleach anime, we had Kubo release Burn the Witch, we had a special one-shot chapter New Breeds from Hell released in August of 2021, and most recently Kubo has drawn this full-color manga spread of the original Gotei 13. Now this drawing had caused so much uproar within the community, people were just so excited to see these character designs finally. And of course, recently we've had all of the names released of all of the captains, and I know a lot of the predictions that I made in my video didn't come to be true. I assumed that there were going to be several members of noble families within the original Gotei 13, but it seems like there's only one person representing the noble families, with the leader of the 2nd Division, Chika Shihoin. There have been a lot of fan arts drawn of the original Gotei 13, with the Riraka lookalike captain being a huge fan favorite. There are several incredible fan arts of her, and you can see all of these several different examples of drawings, and all of this is just from a single drawing done by Kubo, which just made all of us lose our minds. Yeah, so the eye patch girl Riraka lookalike is actually called Saito Furofushi, and it's quite understandable why there have been so many fan arts made of this character, and this is just within the span of 1 week. So with the anime continuing to adapt on average 5 chapters per episode, and with the 1000 Year Blood War arc expected to last for 54 episodes, we can expect the anime to add a lot of content, especially if they remain consistent on this pacing during the 2nd, 3rd and 4th core. In its entirety, the 1000 Year Blood War arc spans for 206 chapters. If they continue to adapt 5 chapters per episode, and if it's going to last for 52 episodes, that means we're going to get 260 chapters of content within the episode length. Now this means that we'll have a total of 54 additional chapters, which is like 5 to 6 volumes of extra content. Now all of this is just additional material for the 1000 Year Blood War arc, and it's not even including spin-offs that they might do if they do decide to adapt the Can't Fear Your Own World light novels into anime form, since a lot of important story elements and plot points missing from the main Bleach manga are included within Can't Fear Your Own World. We know that the anime has paid very particular attention to hell butterflies whenever they're included in scenes, and with the reveal of the original Gotei 13, I'm not going to be surprised if we see these characters again in an upcoming hell arc within the manga. It's a great time to be a Bleach fan with so much content to look forward to. It's quite understandable why the perception of many people who were critical on the series has now changed. Hopefully a lot of their concerns are going to be addressed with future releases of the anime, and I really hope that the anime just continues to build and improve upon the manga. If there are any omissions or changes to the anime, and if you feel like it's not following the story of the manga, then just know that Kubo is actually overseeing the production of the anime, and any changes that are being made are done through his supervision. I know a lot of people were upset about the comedic elements being removed, or certain scenes like Byakuya's eulogy during Sasakibe's funeral being removed, but I'm pretty confident that major scenes like this being cut are only done through the approval of Kubo. I was initially quite annoyed about all of these changes and cuts, but it's just reassuring to know that Kubo is actually overseeing all of it. So in general, what are your thoughts about the perception of Bleach and how it's changed since the anime release? Or even how it's changed over the past 2 years since the anime was announced? Do you feel like YouTubers like myself, Mr. Tomo and James Hansen have had any effect in changing the perception of the series? Do you feel like people are just liking the series more with the anime's return? Or do you feel like people were just really young when they had first experienced Bleach, and now that they are older they are revisiting it and appreciating it in a different way? Because I know that when I'd initially first seen Bleach, I was only watching it for the fight scenes, but when I got older and I reread the manga, I felt like I was reading a very character-driven story, and I related far more with the emotions of the characters. Story segments like Ulquiorra understanding the meaning of the heart were just totally different in my mind after I had more life experience and I was able to understand what he was going through. So yeah, do you think that people are just liking the series more now that they're revisiting it? Or do you think all of this change in perception is because of the anime? Definitely continue the discussion in the comments. Let me know all of your thoughts. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach video.